Can you give Senator Wambua the mic?
Madam Chair, because the people of Kitui expect that the entire Senate will support the Ndengo bill, I vote yes.
Senator Wario Golich Juma, Tana River County. Senator Wario Golich Juma, Tana River County. Senator Wetangula Moses Masika, Bungoma County.
The Bungoma delegation votes yes.
We were to recall Senator Fatuma Dulo if she's still online. Is Senator Fatuma Dulo still voting by?
Senator Adam Dulo Fatuma, Isiolo County.
Okay, so let's proceed to count the vote. Tell us, are you ready with your returns? Senator Omanga, Senator Naomi Shionga. Thank you, tellers, for our job well done.
You announce the results of the...
Honorable Senators, the results of a division: the ayes 33, the noes, the nays 0, abstention 0. The ayes have it. Honorable Senators, the mover may now report. Mover. Mover.
No, the mover is Aaron.
Sorry, Senators. The mover is Senator Aaron Cheriot. Is the owner of the bill.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the Senate its consideration of the National Assembly amendments to the T-Bill, Senate Bill number 36 of 2018, and its approval thereof, without amendments.
A document. I will put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the National Assembly amendments to the T-Bill, Senate Bills number 36 of 2018, and its approval thereof. As many of that opinion say aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. We now order that the doors be opened and the bars be withdrawn.
Honorable Senators, Madam Speaker,
Honorable members, the chairperson will now report. Chairperson.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report progress at that the Committee of the Whole has considered the National Assembly amendments to the T-Bill, Senate Bills number 36 of 2018, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow.
We're okay.
Sorry, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole has considered the National Assembly amendments to the T-Bill, Senate Bill number 36 of 2018 and its approval thereof without amendments.
Thank you, mover.
Unasikiliza? Uh-oh. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee on the said report.
Honorable Senators, I will now propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Senator Cheriot Aaron.
Mike, please. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this chance that I had requested earlier on. I want to take this time to appreciate our colleagues who've acceded to our request, first of all, to break.
Senator Cheriot.
Yes, Madam
In
Speaker.
addition to you are wanting to say something,
Yeah.
you are also seconding the motion from the mover.
Thank you. Thank you. I will do that. Okay, good. So, Madam Speaker, I was saying I really appreciate my colleagues took time this afternoon out of their busy break to come and transact business on behalf of the millions of Kenyans who depend on tea farming as a business. I appreciate each and every one of you because this has been 2 years journey that we have done as a house. It has nothing to do with me as a person, but everything to do with Senate as a house. The fact that we listened to the motion that set up the ad hoc committee. We went around the country. I think we visited almost 13 counties, listening to the views of the farmers, and they pleaded with us. And there is nothing more difficult than when citizens of a republic cry out to you and you're a leader. Because in short, what they are saying is that if I was in your position, perhaps I would have thought of a solution. And it is out of that realization that we came back together as a committee, worked on the bill, rolled it out on the floor of this house, completed it last year, has gone through the motions of parliament, been caught in between all the tribulations that many of the bills that come from the Senate do face, Madam Speaker, with regards to Article 110, 114. But we appreciate each and every parliamentary officer, because I want to make a special mention also because of their very dedicated contribution to the work that they've done for us to ensure that this bill sees the light of the day. We appreciate also our colleagues. It's not every other day that as Senate, we appreciate the work of the National Assembly. On many occasions, we don't have very kind words for them because they are aggressors most of the time in the disputes that we have between the both houses. But today, like our leader, Senator James Orengo said, it's one of those rare occasions where they have agreed to the work that Senate has done, and therefore it will be not so fair on our part if we do not appreciate the National Assembly. Of course, they went on to add on so much contribution, including almost other 34 clauses from Ministry of Agriculture on things that they considered that as a house we had not factored in our contributions. And for us as both houses of parliament to agree with them is a big milestone. I appreciate the party leaders too, because we must be sincere. In the course of the weekend, there were many stories that were flying around about the things that people are saying. Mr. Speaker, the contribution of each and every one of them in ensuring that as a house, we pass this bill, we conclude it, and give to the tea farmers of this country a fantastic Christmas. Mr. Speaker, I can confidently now go back to Kericho and tell them that my stay in this house, just like the many of the colleagues who come from tea-growing counties, Senator Omogeni can go back, Senator Professor Ongeri, and many of my colleagues on this other side, they'll go back to their home counties and say, as a Senate, we have done our work. now it falls upon government. There are many things. I did a simple calculation for Senator Professor Ongeri as I conclude, Madam Senator. Senator Ongeri is a big-time tea farmer. He does almost close to 200,000 kgs of tea every year. And I was telling him, just on 2 closes alone, he's making close to 200,000 shillings. Because on the close number 1, that reduces the auction percentage price from 1.5% to 0.75. That saves him close to 100,000 Kenya shillings out of his earning. The second one on management fee, that moves it from 2.5% as currently is to a maximum of 1.5%. That gives him another 200,000, Madam Speaker. And the same can be said to so many other farmers. So do not holistically, when you read about, this is not a simple act that you have done as a house. At the end of this current agriculture year, if we may call it, we call it an agricultural cycle in the tea food chain because it's the year that you declare the tea bonus. Many farmers will have thousands more of shillings back to their pockets, courtesy of the work that this house has done. So I appreciate, Madam Speaker. I know we are pressed for time. I would have said many things, but on behalf of many of our colleagues who represent tea farmers in this house and overall as an institution, I do pass my appreciation, Madam Speaker. And with those many remarks, I do second, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cheriot. I know you have persuaded a few to be tea farmers. Honorable Senators, I see 3 people wanting to speak, but I also wanted to inform you that I'm going to propose. Before I propose, I'm going to propose. I wanted to inform you that we needed about an hour to use, yeah. I know I'm going to propose the question. I just want to warn members that we don't have to load this. Thank you. So I can see 3 of you who had put the card have also withdrawn. Thank you very much. Now I can put the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary say nay? The ayes have it. Thank you, honorable senators. We now go to the very important session of eulogizing our dear colleague, Senator Kabaka of Machakos. I want to do a limitation of 3 minutes so that all of us can have an opportunity to speak. And the first person to... Oops. Thank you. Next order. Sorry, that was okay because this was a report from the committee. So we didn't need that. And remember, eulogizing our brother was not part of the order paper, but it was out of communication from the speaker. So we will continue with that. The first person to come forward is Senator Wambua Enokio, who has represented us very ably in the Committee of the Family. Senator Wambua. Point of order from Senator Wetangula.
Speaker, there are a few of us who were accorded an opportunity by the Speaker to speak very briefly about our colleague on the day that we had the impeachment proceedings. Are we going to be allowed to have a second bite at the cherry? Or we are taken as having spoken?
Senator Wetangula, you know very much it is the eye of the Speaker that will deal with the, yes, it's the eye of the Speaker. So don't report on yourself or on others.
The only reason I was asking is because we agreed that the proceedings will be taken from the Hansard and taken to the family. So if what I said on Thursday will be extracted and be part of it, then I don't need to take a chance that another
You are very right.
senator
You are
can
very
meet.
right, Senator. You are very right. I missed that one. So I think that is very okay. If you had spoken, please, you don't have to speak again because already that has been extracted. This one should be extracted tomorrow morning. I mean, this evening on time for it to be taken. So, Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to eulogize my friend, my colleague, Senator Kabaka. Madam Speaker, I will be pleading with you that, and I'm very sensitive about time, that if you can just give me 2 additional minutes, because in eulogizing, I'm also going to be giving a brief of what we are doing.
Exactly.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to really grieve my friend, my brother, Senator Kabaka, the Senator of Machakos, who left us on the 11th day of December 2020, Madam Speaker. And for the record, Senator Kabaka left us at 8:45 a.m. on December 11th, 2020, and not earlier, as had been circulated by a section of social media. Madam Speaker, I want to say that all of us have lost a dear friend and a great leader in this nation. A man who was very passionate about the things that he did, and especially very passionate about the plight of the poor and the downtrodden in society. Speaker, I remember that the last conversation that I had with Senator Kabaka was about people in his county whose land had been taken for the construction of a mega dam, and they had not been compensated. And when he tried to push for their compensation and it was not forthcoming, he took the initiative as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and went to court to stop the project until his people are compensated. When I spoke to him, he said, "My brother, as he used to call me, I want to go with you to see those people. And because I know who you are," that's him talking to me, "because I know who you are, you would definitely cry to see the kind of people whose land has been taken and they have not been compensated." That speaks volumes about the kind of person that Kabaka was, Senator. Madam Speaker, in my interaction with Senator Kabaka, and I say this with humility to the people of Machakos County, in fact, it has reached a point, Madam Speaker, and I was saying to myself, counting the number of times that Senator Kabaka has gone with me to Kitui for functions, I am convinced that, in fact, he could have spent a lot more time in functions in Kitui than in Machakos. When I lost my auntie in May of this year, it is Senator Kabaka who called me and said, "You and I should not bother other people. You and I will share the cost of the burial. We'll buy the coffin and pay for transportation to go and rest your auntie." And he was there. He drove himself to my home for the burial of my auntie. Madam Speaker, time will not allow me to say the many things that I did with my brother, Senator Kabaka. But one thing stands out, Madam Speaker. Earlier in the year, I mentioned to him that I was thinking of enrolling for a master's degree in theology. And Kabaka said, "On the day that you're going to be picking the forms to fill for enrollment, I'll go with you so that we pursue the cause together." That is how close Senator Kabaka was to me, Madam Speaker. And I want to say that God gave us Senator Kabaka, and God has called Senator Kabaka to himself. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Now, Speaker, to be remembered, as I conclude my eulogy, it will be remembered how Senator Kabaka stood with Kitui and Makueni and all the counties that were supposed to be losing money in the revenue sharing formula. And I remember how Senator Kabaka was lobbied by so many people that he should abandon the course because Machakos was gaining money. And in my presence, he told the people that were lobbying him, for as long as my people in Kitui and my people in Makueni are losing money, I will not accept to gain at the expense of my brothers and sisters. Madam Speaker, I want to say, may the soul of our brother, our friend, Senator Kabaka, rest in eternal peace. And Madam Speaker, with your permission, I want to inform the House that tomorrow is the day that we are going to Mikuyu in Masinga for the final resting of our brother and our colleague. We are leaving the city at 7 in the morning, and I want to thank the Secretariat for the great support that they have given the family and the organizing committee to make sure that we give our brother, our friend, a befitting send-off. Transport has been arranged for senators that are going to be meeting here in Parliament at 6:30 in the morning. We have agreed with the Secretariat that because the proceedings of Parliament and the happenings around Parliament are determined by our own standing orders and by tradition, through Kabaka, Madam Speaker, we have agreed as a committee that was appointed by the Speaker to coordinate the burial that we will begin a new tradition in this Parliament. That when a member passes on, it is only fitting that as they depart, they have an opportunity to be brought to the Parliament for colleagues who will not be able to go to the morgue and to the burial to just pay their last respects. So we have agreed that tomorrow we will pass by here with the body of our friend for people to just pay their respects and to meet and join with other colleagues. And we leave Parliament as a convoy. We go to Masinga through Thika Road. We expect to be in Masinga at around 10 a.m. when the program starts, and run through the program until around 4 p.m. when we intend to bury our friend. So this is just a call to our colleagues to kindly just make that sacrifice tomorrow. Wake up that early in the morning. At 6:30 in the morning, please let's all be here. A few of us, those who are in the committee, will go to Lee, we'll bring the body, and then we will join our colleagues here, and together we'll go to bury our brother, our friend. Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me the time to eulogize my friend and to brief members on what we are doing. I thank you, Madam Speaker. May the soul of my brother, Senator Boniface Mutinda Kabaka, rest in God's eternal peace. Amen.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Murkomen Onesmus Kipchumba.
Madam Speaker, our colleague, Senator Boniface Mutinda Kabaka, was my senior in the legal profession. He is a man whom, if you met in these chambers or outside here, you would mistake his simplicity for weakness. You would mistake his simplicity for, you would never actually tell that it's a man with immense knowledge and education. I think Boniface Kabaka had more than 4 degrees. I think, yeah, he was pursuing the 6th. He had 5. And he was pursuing a PhD. if there is a senator who engaged us intellectually in the Senate social media group, was Senator Kabaka. I enjoyed their conversation, especially late nights, because I am a late night sleeper. And Madam Speaker, him and Senator Achilo Ayako have always entertained us with very witty comments. Senator Kabaka, in any conversation you had with him, you realized that he was deep, both intellectually in the legal profession, in terms of understanding of law, but life and philosophy of life. His most memorable moment, I think, in this House, and which is his legacy, is his stand with those counties that were meant to lose money in the discussion on division of revenue. And when we were having that debate, Senator Kabaka was part of Team Kenya, and Senator Sakaja, who was part of our leadership, will bear witness. Most of us thought that he was the last person to stand firm because of the pressure that was there, insofar as the decision to stand with the counties that were losing were concerned. But he stood very firm. Not to mention that Senator Mutula and Senator Wambua, together with him, went to pray with a bishop. And when Mutula and Wambua came back, they told us, don't worry about Kabaka. He did not just confess to us, he also confessed to God that he's going to stand firm with Team Kenya. And he stood firm. And I think it's very sad that this House lost such a gentleman. It is very sad that this country lost somebody at that level. In fact, he was the kind of person, I used to joke with him that if his political career ends soon, he should consider a career in the bench so that he can write very good judgments based on the very immense knowledge he had. We will miss him. We will miss our colleague here, but we want to tell the people of Machakos to take heart. Your senator did wonderful things in defending you outside there and inside this chamber, and that God will guide you also to get another leader who will follow in the footsteps of Senator Boniface Kabaka Mutinda. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I'd like to wish his family the very best and God's grace.
Ada?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to join colleagues in offering my condolences to the people of Machakos, my neighboring county, as well as the family of our late departed colleague. Madam Speaker, on the 7th of November, if I got the date right, I joined Senator Mutula and Senator Wambua at Nairobi Hospital to visit our friend. We were supposed to wake up from surgery that evening. And I was not allowed to see him, but we sat with the family, and I think the wife and one of the sons was next to us. And we were looking forward that he would come to a few hours later or a few days later. Madam Speaker, on the 11th, Senator Mutula called me and told me that in fact, he put it very interestingly. He said, rebel in chief of Team Kenya, you have lost a general. And I understood what he meant. And that was very, very sad, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Senator Kabaka was very jovial, very engaging, extremely deep, as Senator Senator Murkomen said. And he was a friend. I remember at the time I addressed an issue about him and Senator Mutula and Senator Murkomen for going to court to support the then governor of Nairobi, Governor Sonko. And I felt, you guys should have at least told me, what you're doing. He took time to come to my office and explain what was going on. And we became very close during the stalemate of the revenue because he was in our team. We had thought he'd be a weak link, but he was strong. And Madam Speaker, that moment was not an easy moment for any of us, especially those whose counties had been gaining, but who chose to stand with the others. And every time he would just call me to reassure me that we were moving in one direction. And we did many things, even outside Parliament, many of which, Madam Speaker, him and I will stay with the memory. Madam Speaker, the people of Machakos have lost an honest man, a selfless man. If you look at what he was doing at home and even the school he was putting up, his love for the community and his love for the truth, they have lost a great, great senator. And I hope that, Madam Speaker, his memory will live on. Madam Speaker, I'm reminded of the words of Khalil Gibran in The Prophet when he speaks about death, and he says, "Your fear of death is but the trembling of the shepherd when he stands before the king, whose hand is to be laid upon him in honor. Is the shepherd not joyful beneath his trembling that he shall wear the mark of the king? Yet is he not more mindful of his trembling? For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountain top, then you shall begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then you shall truly dance." Senator Kabaka, go well and dance on. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Ongeri Samson Kagengo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is with a very heavy heart that I mourn the passing on of a great senator, a great debater, a very intellectual academic giant, and a person who was endowed with tremendous ability to interpret the social circumstances and the economic welfare of his people. And indeed, those of us who witness his ability to debate in this House, he was able to, in a very brief manner, summarize the events of the debate, and he was able to also give a way forward on how that debate should go. And more so, his acumen and knowledge in the legal profession gave him a very tall position in that professional docket, and was a man who was imbued with a lot of experiences that he would be able to bring on the table. Of the parliamentary debate, he was a man who is in social engagement, was very mindful of other people's welfare. And I know that every time any one of us approached him on something that had to do with either somebody who has died somewhere, he was a very ready hand in giving support to that person, and also in giving support to the projects that needed to be done. Therefore, we've lost a man who was, in fact, in terms of his contribution to this nation, that he has contributed more than many others who would have done in his place if they had been given that time span that he has been with us in this level. So in sympathy with the family, we want to condole with the family and the people of Machakos for losing a very able senator, and hopefully, God willing, that they may be able to find somebody to step into his shoes. To the family, we pass our condolences to them, and particularly the close family. And I know at this time of grief, many people may doubt what there is, but for those of us who are glued up in the Bible, we know that there is hope beyond death. And death is just a shadow, and therefore death only comes at a time, and people, according to the biblical enunciation, death can only come at a time like this. And we've seen a lot of people die. But at the end of the day, we should all believe and trust that eventually when the Lord Master comes, in that glorious day, as recorded in Revelation 21st, verse 1 to 3, that when the Jerusalem city descends on this earth, we shall all be presently be there singing a new song, which even the angels of heaven will not be able to read and understand the tonics of that song, except the ones who have triumphed on this world. And I think he will be one of them. I thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to utilize one of our best and very consummate debater in this House. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Kirinyaga Ephraim Maina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I started to remember our colleague, Senator Kabaka, and I want to say is that Senator Kabaka always came out as a very humorous person who seemed to wish well to everybody. We have had it, and it's true. It was not just a casual thing for him to say, even if Machakos is getting money, he cannot agree with the money if his brothers and sisters in Makueni, in Kitui, are not getting. And Madam Speaker, I remember one time jokingly asking him why that had to be, but he was so convinced and convicted. And I want to tell his people that they had a selfless leader and a man who actually seemed and wished no harm. I remember Senator Kabaka here, when we were approving the head of the police, the IG of police. He stood firmly and told this house the man was his classmate, and he appealed to us to support him. And I remember rising and saying, when one of our colleagues has given those kind of credentials, there must be something true about the person we are approving. And we supported the present IG of police. Therefore, he was a man that stood with what he believed, and he is a man who stood for the interest of his people. And Madam Speaker, I want to make two final appeals to the media. Let them be wary, let them be considerate of families when something like this happens, not to bring emotional issues that are neither here nor there. Somebody passes on, and that is it. Don't bring other stories, that seem maybe emotionally amusing. The other one, Madam Speaker, is that Senator Kabaka has left a family. And I was wondering, and I've been wondering, that when we are in this house, what is it that we can do to ensure at least we give reply to that kind of a family? It's a family with children. And we will lay Kabaka tomorrow, but I would say, I wish we had a system in this house or in Parliament where something would be done to see that the life of and the continuity of the children and his family really is not affected as much. But in the end of the day, let us say God knows best what he did, and God knows best what he's doing. Let us pray and appreciate God's life he has given our brother, and we say, may the wish of God be done, and may God bless this family and take care of it more than anybody can take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Cheruiyot Aaron Kirui.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this chance. Madam Speaker, I want to take this very opportunity on behalf of the people of Kericho and many Kenyans who may not get a chance to share in the grief that we share in this format and manner, to pass their condolences to the people of Machakos, the family of Senator Kabaka, our colleague, following his untimely demise. Madam Speaker, I agree with many of our colleagues who have spoken on the great attributes that this colleague of ours had and was blessed with. I agree with those of my colleagues who agree that Senator Kabaka was indeed a very witty man and had was blessed in a way of simplifying the very complex issues sometimes. Madam Speaker, I had on one occasion the chance of traveling with our colleague Senator Kabaka to Colombo in Sri Lanka, and we spent a whole 2 weeks together with other colleagues, and we happened to have been staying at the same hotel. Therefore, on many evenings after the conference, we'd spend time together, walking around and discussing many issues. At that point, I got to learn of the man that Senator Kabaka is. A great friend, a person who interacted deeply and wanted to know more about people. A distinguishing factor about him that I do recall up to date is that on many occasions when we travel as Parliament and in our delegations, Madam Speaker, you'll hardly find senators or members of parliament engaging the staffers that we travel with. But curiously, it's now that we are giving our tributes to Senator Kabaka that I've just recalled that actually on most of our evenings, we'd hang out with the parliamentary staff that we traveled with. That was Senator Kabaka for you. He had a way of not distinguishing between the high and those that are considered not to be of their class or rank. And he would interact freely with them, enjoy good times and share with them. But this is a way of life, Madam Speaker. As the Bible tells us that it is given for man to be born and a time to die also come. It has come for our colleague, Senator Kabaka. We do mourn him. Tomorrow we shall all troop to his home village to bid him farewell and to give our condolences to the people of Machakos for losing such a distinguished leader. But of course, one of the greatest contributions that we will never forget is what he did for us when we caucused together alongside in Team Kenya, Madam Speaker, earlier on this year. And the many sessions and the meetings that we had together, that was a issue that not many would have handled. You would imagine that coming from a county that was gaining and having your governor, who is fairly loud, get on all media stations and tell residents of your county how you're a useless person, that your county is supposed to be gaining certain amounts of money, but because of your greed or because of other considerations, you're not doing it. But because he was firmly convinced in the course and the path that you had taken, he believed in a better Kenya, as many of us who served together with, who caucused during that particular time do. He stood firm. And for those great attributes, I'll forever cherish the moments and the memories that we had with these great colleagues of ours. Finally, Madam Speaker, I do conclude by reminding many of our mainstream media not to behave like tabloids. The very unfortunate things that they said about Senator Kabaka. I called up one of the editors and told them, by the way, we politicians have families too. Some of these things that you're writing about people are completely unnecessary. And it's not fair that there will come a time that people will say also certain things about it. So it's about media ethics, Madam Speaker, that I hope can be respected and restored by the Media Council of Kenya. With those many remarks, Madam Speaker, I say rest in peace, our good friend and colleague, Senator Kabaka. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Let's try, even though we say 3 minutes, try to use 2 so that all members will get a chance, because I still have more than 15. Senator Pareno, Judith Ramaita.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to mourn a friend and a colleague. I knew Senator Kabaka before we came into the Senate. I'd known him for quite some time. As a colleague in the party, Senator Kabaka, way back, was an ODM party member, very strong member who came out strongly, and had an encounter with him during those days as a member of the party before he ran on the current ticket that he used to come to the Senate. Senator Kabaka is a colleague in the profession as a lawyer. My path and his crisscrossed as we ran around in the courtrooms to defend our clients. Very committed lawyer. And finally, Senator Kabaka became a colleague in the Senate. And I admired him and his practice of the law. And Madam Speaker, the last encounter I had with him just before we lost him is a visit he made to my home in Mashuru in Kajiado County. He came in with Senator of Kitui, Senator Wambua, and I hosted them. And Madam Speaker, he had plans. He had a life that was so vibrant, and he had asked me to help him get a breed we call the Dopa sheep. And when he came home, he was able to identify a few that he had hoped he was going to purchase. He also had wanted to do a breed of animals that we call simmentals, and he also wanted to buy some from us. It was not to be. We had those plans, but I guess God had bigger plans for him, and all we can do is mourn him. We miss him. He was a darling to many of us here in the Senate and as a friend, and I pray that he becomes a darling even to the angels in heaven. Rest in peace, colleague and friend, Senator Kabaka.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Nderitu John Kinywa.
Asante sana Bi Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii. Kwanza kabisa ningependa kusema ya kwamba nataka kutuma risala zangu za rambirambi za familia yangu na watu wote wa Laikipia kwa familia ya mwenda zake Senator Kabaka pamoja na watu wa Machakos. Na jambo ambalo namkumbuka Senator Kabaka, alikuwa mtu mkarimu sana. Nakumbuka kwa wakati ndugu yetu mwenda zake Ben, senator wa kutoka Migori, alipotuacha, Senator Kabaka alijitolea akasema ya kwamba atalipa karo kwa wanafunzi wa mwenda zake Ben. Na nakumbuka aliandika ile hundi ya kusaidia. Kwa hivyo ukarimu wake ulijitokeza vizuri sana. Namkumbuka kama msomi, tulisafiri naye katika nchi ya Australia, na tulipokuwa huko aliniambia kitu ambacho ni kizuri zaidi ni kwenda katika maktaba na akaweza kununua vitabu vya wanasheria. Kwa hivyo ni mtu alijulikana sana kwa mambo ya masomo. Jambo lingine ambalo namjua ni kwamba alikuwa mtu stadi sana katika mambo ya mijadala hapa katika seneti. Kwa hivyo tutamkosa sana. Jambo lingine ambalo lijitokeza sana kwa ndugu yangu Kabaka ni ya kwamba yeye mwenyewe alikuwa na msimamo dhabiti. Mimi mwenyewe nilikuwa nikimrai awache kusimama na timu Kenya, aje katika timu yetu ya one man, one vote, one shilling. Kwa sababu yeye tayari kama kaunti yake ilikuwa hela zimeongezeka kwenda kaunti yake. Lakini yeye alisimama kidete akasema hawezi akaacha ndugu zake wa kutoka Makueni, ndugu zake wa kutoka Kitui. Kwa hivyo ni mtu ambaye akisema jambo lile ambalo alisimamia kwa ustadi sana. Mimi ni rafiki yangu na ni rafiki ya wengi hapa, tutamkosa sana. Kwa hivyo vile ambavyo tunaweza tukasema, safiri salama ndugu yangu Senator Kabaka.
Minority Leader, Senator James Orengo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, also for getting a chance to eulogize and send condolences to the family of our colleague, Senator Boniface Mutinda Kabaka. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, if ever there was a jovial man in this Senate, if there was ever a kind man in this Senate, Senator Kabaka was such a person. I am aware of many verses in the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, that compares life to the grass that withers away and to the flower that fades away. And you find those words in many parts of the scripture, in both books of the Bible. And when I remember how fast Senator Kabaka has left us, then I only hope that as the word of the Lord lasts and stays forever, his life will remain with us and with generations to come, because what we place in record regarding Senator Kabaka will be read and attested to by future generations. Madam Speaker, I want to compare Senator Kabaka to a famous statesman in old Rome called Marcus Cicero. He was a man of letters, he was a lawyer, he was a statesman, he was an orator. The only thing, and a man of letters, as I've said, the only difference between him and Senator Kabaka was because he was a successful lawyer and a successful politician. The only difference is that he tried to overthrow the government in Rome, which Kabaka has never tried. But in every respect, including, calling for democratic rule, because Cicero also wanted the old republican tradition to be maintained in Rome before Julius Caesar and after he became the emperor in old Rome. So I hope in the life of a great man like this, because he always sat in front of me or I sat behind him or vice versa, but he was truly inspiring as a man of letters and as a human being. I hope that we will remember him for the good deeds he did for this country and for being firm and principled Whether we disagreed or agreed, he remained principled, and that I'd always remember. Finally, Madam Speaker, I always encourage all the young senators that, create your brand. And Kabaka created his brand. And say everything that you must say. Even if people think you are wrong, say it. The only thing that we must always maintain is decorum, because, as politicians, sometimes we go overboard. Lawyers never go the way politicians go. The churches, the bishops don't call each other names like politicians do. And Kabaka never did. So
Senator Langat Andrew.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker, for also giving me this particular opportunity to mourn one of our great leaders, Senator Kabaka. I want to say that death is a monster that spares no one irrespective of wisdom or knowledge. I want to say Senator Kabaka was a great man. I've heard so many of us talk about him as a great debater. He was a great debater here, and I want to say that if anyone ever sat with Kabaka outside this particular house in a free environment and listened to him, he was a man of great knowledge. He had an